Welcome to RPTV Weekly News. I'm Gabriel, joined by Kedar, Marcelo, and Jabin, ready to bring you the latest updates from Regent Park and its surroundings.
In this episode, we'll cover important events and community updates from November 24th to December 1st. Stay with us for the news that matters to our community.
Report of the SDP Stakeholders Table meeting on November 27th, 2024. Man charged in violent carjacking that left victim shot in Regent Park. Covenant House, Toronto expands winter care for youth experiencing homelessness. Ontario passes bill allowing removal of Toronto bike lanes. Local ice rinks are now open. Events and jobs in the community.
Report of the SDP Stakeholders Table meeting on November the 27th, 2024.
The Regent Park Social Development Plan, SDP Stakeholders Table, convened for its quarterly hybrid meeting at the Urban Pavilion in Regent Park, located at 660 Dundas Street East, 3rd floor. The major item for the meeting was a presentation of the SDP Strategic Plan by the Strategic Planning Committee. The meeting followed an agenda that included introduction, status of the SDP Strategic Plan, and city refresh, summary of the strategic plan process, approval of major changes, next steps, announcements, City of Toronto meeting. The meeting began with a warm welcome and land acknowledgement by SDP resident co-chair Waleed Kagali Ali. Waleed, who provided an overview of the SDP's purpose, community belonging through inclusion and social cohesion. He also explained the parts of the SDP network, which includes the stakeholders table, the working groups, safety network, community building, employment and economic development, communication, and the committees, planning, evaluation, funding, terms of reference, and community benefits.
Regent Park resident Deanie Peters began the business of the meeting by providing some background information about the 2024 SDP Strategic Plan, a process conducted by the Strategic Planning Committee of the SDP to involve the membership of the SDP in reviewing and changing SDP structures, directions, and activities for the next 3 to 5 years. The 2024 SDP Strategic Plan's purpose is to help the SDP to be current and relevant, be effective, be strategic, and analytical. The strategic plan also identifies opportunities for new growth, new partnership, and new roles. Deanie also spoke about the city's refresh of the SDP, a process conducted by the City of Toronto to review primarily the city's role in the SDP. According to Deanie, the city's refresh may also affect the SDP's process and structure. Grassroots agency member Michael Rosenberg explained the consensus decision-making process. According to Michael, the goal of this meeting is for the SDP Stakeholders Table to review the proposed changes that the SDP Strategic Planning Committee is presenting to the SDP Stakeholders Table for members to decide whether or not to approve them. Next, Regent Park residents and co-chair of the Community Building Working Group, Elena, presented the proposed new goals of the SDP. The SDP's new overall goal is to engage in projects that create a sense of belonging, inclusion, and cohesion to bring Regent Park together as one community and improve the social environment in Regent Park. The reasons for changing the goal by expanding on the previous goal of social inclusion and cohesion is to make it clear to members that inclusion and cohesion mean one Regent Park inclusive of income, language, culture, age, and indicate that the SDP's future projects that benefit the community. The new goal of the SDP was unanimously passed by the stakeholders table.
Next, Michael presented on the new strategic directions. The new strategic directions will provide guidance on what needs to be done across the SDP network, working groups, and committees. They are create a sense of belonging, inclusion, and cohesion that brings Regent Park together, improve the social environment in Regent Park, empower residents and residents groups to set priorities both within the SDP and for Regent Park, have equal numbers of TCHC and market residents. The new strategic directions of SDP was unanimously passed by the stakeholders table.
Adonis Huggins, an agency member and co-chair of the Communications Committee, outlined the proposed changes around decision-making. Currently, the stakeholders table makes major decisions for the SDP. The proposed new change is that the Planning Committee should be the place where decisions should be made and not the stakeholders table. Instead, the stakeholders table should be a place for all stakeholders, including residents and organizations, to gather for the purpose of engagement, consultation, and information sharing, but not decision-making. Adonis explained the reasons for change in decision-making powers. The SDP stakeholders table only meets 4 times a year and often does not have time, nor the background information required to consider major decisions. The Planning Committee, on the other hand, meets weekly, and as a consequence, most decisions are already being made by the Planning Committee since it is able to give detailed consideration to each matter. The change will enable increased opportunities for residents to be involved in decision-making. If approved, the role of the Planning Committee will change from its present role of coordination and alignment and only make decisions on time-sensitive issues to making decisions for the SDP, receiving updates from working groups and committees, being responsible for coordination and alignment, resourcing, strategic planning, monitoring, evaluation, data management, and maintaining documents. The other SDP committees will now be subcommittees of the Planning Committee. Adonis also introduced changes to the membership of the Planning Committee. While anyone can still participate on the Planning Committee, only active residents and organizational members of each working group and committee can be on the Planning Committee as formal voting members. Representation from all working groups and committees will be required at the Planning Committee. Additionally, at least half of the voting members on the Planning Committee from each working group or committee must be a resident. Adonis emphasized the point that all non-voting members, including representatives from the City of Toronto, TCHC, developers, executive directors network, and residents and organizations who are not active in a working group can still participate in the Planning Committee's consensus decision-making process. They will not be able to be allowed to participate in any voting process related to decision-making. Adonis explained that the term active member of working group or committee will be defined in the terms of reference, a document that outlines the structure, procedures, and role of the SDP. When it came time for the stakeholders table to make a decision around the proposed changes to decision-making and the changes in the membership of the Planning Committee, some members objected to the proposal to have the Planning Committee be the decision-making body of the SDP. After some debate, a compromise was reached and the decision was made to have both the Planning Committee and the stakeholders table be empowered to make decisions on a trial period of 1 year's time. The new amendment, with 3 abstentions, was unanimously passed by the stakeholders table.
Resident Waleed Kogali Ali continued with new proposals related to the changes of working groups. Currently, the SDP has 4 working groups: safety, community building, employment and economic development, and communication. According to new changes, any resident and organization that operates in Regent Park to improve the social environment in Regent Park and are aligned with social inclusion and cohesion in their main aspects can become a working group. Working groups will follow the SDP terms of reference. Waleed highlighted the reasons for change which is to increase relevance and responsiveness of the SDP. According to Walid, expanded working groups will be able to better engage the participation of linguistic and cultural groups, youth, seniors, and marginalized people. The presented changes to the working groups were unanimously passed by the stakeholders table. The next session was about co-chairs presented by Deanie Peters. Although there was no changes in the structures of the SDP co-chairs, all organizations that were responsible for appointing co-chairs, RPNA, TCHC, and the EED network, will for transparency inform the Planning Committee of the procedures it uses to select SDP co-chairs, and the Planning Committee can only refuse to accept the co-chairs if the procedures were not followed. Additionally, the role of all organizations and agency co-chairs involved in the SDP are to support resident leadership. The changes to the co-chairs were unanimously passed by the stakeholders table.
Conflict resolution changes was presented by Michael Rosenberg. A year ago, the Shaping SDP Culture Policy and Procedure was adopted by SDP Network for a trial period. Michael informed members that the new proposal is to include the Shaping SDP culture into the terms of reference. Additionally, the SDP plan included the goal of increasing the network's capacity to engage in conflict resolution, mediation, and in responding to trauma. Lastly, to ensure that violation complaints are not ignored. The SDP administrative assistant role will be expanded to help members navigate the conflict resolution process and to help members fill out reports on incidents. These incident reports will be given back to the working group or committee where the issues arose. One of the reasons for change is to ensure that violations of the Shaping SDP culture are addressed and that the use of the conflict resolution process is increased. The changes of conflict resolution were unanimously passed. The stakeholders table of November the 27, 2024 meeting concluded with announcements.
Man charged in violent carjacking that left victim shot in Regent Park. Toronto police report that on the evening of Wednesday, November 27th, 29-year-old Troy Dennis Ledrew, who has no fixed address, approached multiple vehicles stopped at red lights in the Dundas Street East and River Street area. Armed with a loaded handgun, he allegedly shot one driver, leaving them hospitalized with serious injuries, before attempting to hijack several other vehicles. Ledrew successfully stole one car and drove it to a parking lot near Lakeshore Boulevard East and Carlaw Avenue. Police say he then tried to carjack another vehicle before fleeing on foot. Officers from multiple divisions apprehended him nearby, recovering a loaded handgun.
Troy Ledrew, 29 years old, is now in Toronto Police custody. Approximately 7:15 p.m., Toronto Police responded to a shooting in the area of Dundas Street and Carroll Street. We believe the suspect committed multiple attempted carjackings and shootings from Dundas and Carroll to Lakeshore in Carlaw. Tragically, during one of these carjackings, an individual was shot and was rushed to hospital where they're currently receiving care. At approximately 7:40 p.m., police intercepted him at Lakeshore in Carlaw, where he abandoned his vehicle and fled on foot. Toronto police officers gave chase and located the individual and arrested him. He was in possession of a firearm. This remains an active and complex investigation, and we are still working to establish a complete timeline. However, what is critical to know is this: the suspect is in custody and there is no further threat to public safety. There appear to be no other victims other than the one shooting victim that is in the hospital currently. Our thoughts and prayers are with the individual at the hospital and their family.
The charges against Ledrew are extensive, including 2 counts of attempted murder, 6 counts of robbery with a firearm, and aggravated assault. He was also wanted by Ontario Provincial Police for a related carjacking and shooting incident on Highway 401 near Renforth, Drive in Mississauga a day earlier. Investigations continue, and anyone with information is encouraged to contact police or Crime Stoppers.
Covenant House Toronto expands winter care for youth experiencing homelessness. This winter, Covenant House Toronto is extending its critical services with the launch of its Youth Winter Respite Program, operating 24/7 from November to April. The program provides a safe space for young people aged 16 to 24, offering shelter, meals, healthcare, mental health services, and access to employment and education resources. As winter weather sets in, the need for safe, warm spaces is especially urgent, with homelessness affecting over 1,000 young people in Toronto each night. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow speaks about the importance of Covenant House Toronto Youth Winter Respite Program.
We know that we have an affordability crisis in Toronto. It's really expensive to rent anything, whether it's a basement room, a single room, a tiny room. It is just extremely expensive. And for young people, it's even harder. We know that a young person that experience homelessness have different causes. They might be leaving an abusive family. They may be leaving a homeland that discriminate against them because of who they are. The consequence of being on the street is also different. The interventions needed for these young people are also different. We are very pleased today to announce that the City of Toronto is investing over $800,000 for a winter respite program for young people.
Ontario passes bill allowing removal of Toronto bike lanes. The Ontario government has passed Bill 212 on November the 25th, granting the province authority to remove major bike lanes in Toronto in a move sparking widespread controversy. The bill targets bike lanes on Bloor Street, Yonge Street, and University Avenue, raising concerns among cycling advocates and municipal leaders. Critics argue the legislation prioritizes vehicle traffic and undermines local decision-making with potential safety and environmental risks. This bill highlights tensions between provincial policies and local community priorities.
Local ice rinks are now open. Winter is here and it's the perfect time to enjoy some outdoor skating. Our community offers 3 outdoor rinks: Riverdale Park East, 550 Broadview, Regent Park Athletic Grounds, 480 Shooter, and Sherbourne Common, 5 Lower Sherbourne. For those who prefer to skate indoors, Moss Park Arena, 140 Sherbourne, has you covered with an indoor rink. As of Thursday, November 28th, both Regent Park and Moss Park outdoor rinks are open. Before you go, be sure to check the City Rink status map for updates. Whether you're skating under the open sky or in a warmer indoor space, there's no shortage of places to enjoy the winter.
Affordable housing rental units at 175 Oak Street. TCHC is now accepting expression of interest for random selection submissions for affordable housing. Submit the online form by Friday, December 13, 2024. 175 Oak Street building is located in Regent Park, ready for occupation in early 2025. 1 and 2 bedroom units available. For more information, visit torontohousing.ca/175 Oak Street.
And that's all for today's show, folks. I'm Kedar Ahmed, and I've been joined by my co-hosts, Marcelo, Gabriel, and Jabin. A big thank you to our dedicated team who contributed to this week's episode. And from Focus Media Arts Center, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.